Last time, on the night and its moon, a very white and very special baby showed up at a strange fantasy orphanage. Nox, a girl of dubious skin color, is used as a literal token and tries to protect Amaris, the white baby, at all costs. The girls fight some unhinged bullies, and Amaris gets a new superpower while Nox gets whipped. And I'm just left hoping that the author's absolute tone deafness to the racial issues she seems to be putting in her book comes from ignorance and not actual racism.
Hi, hello. I'm back to make bad choices. We're gonna read another chapter of this. I was watching someone else's review of this, and I'm gonna need to pace myself. Also, that person said that there was like a typo on pretty much every single page, and I have not experienced that with this book, unless I'm like missing all of them. And like, I could see myself missing a few typos, but like all of them. So that makes me think that I did get the edited version. So this might be her like edited ideal version. I did think of some other ways that we could deal with these two characters. Like I mentioned, making them really good friends and showing us their friendship. And just have it be like one of them just has like a darker personality and one of them has a happy, bubbly personality. So it's not quite so like ridiculously on the nose with the whole night and its moon thing. The whole, she's dark like the night and she's white like the moon. It's very painful. And I don't think it's gonna get any more subtle, because it can't. It's already too late. We've been bludgeoned over the head with it. But let's go. Chapter 3, which is gonna be long, so I'm gonna try not to talk too friggin' much. Oh my gosh, these chapters are so long. I know, I write long chapters too, but it's a little ridiculous. So apparently we are not gonna deal with the fact that the only brown-skinned girl in the school was whipped trying to protect a special white girl. And we're just carrying on with the story. We seem to have moved forward in time. Nox is working on Amaris's hair again. We are just not straying away from all of these visuals of the brown person there to serve the white person, and it's just like, I really hope that these were accidental. Amaris is wearing a white tunic, but her skin and hair are so white that they make the tunic look dingy. Apparently, the three bullies who attacked them we're never gonna see again because they immediately fled into the woods. Deus Ex bullies, they just showed up so that Amaris could show off her power, and then they left the planet. I really need to have extreme coincidence on here. Maybe next time. This writing is so... it's trying to be flowery, but in the way of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So it's clumsy flowery. Also, I guess Nox didn't have any scars. Everyone expected scars, but she just has like a couple very light scars, hinting that she's also a magical person. See, you could do a lot with this. If you still want to have a light and dark motif, forget about the skin color thing. That's dumb. Go with their friends. Nox feels protective over Amaris because she met her when she was a baby. Nox still gets whipped, but it's not this whole black person gets whipped protecting special white girl situation. It's just one friend protecting another friend. Then have Nox's personality change, have her get more aggressive, have her get more brooding, darker, if you will, while keeping Amaris like sunshiny and hopeful. Amaris isn't sunshiny and hopeful, but I would change her to be that way. Or, if you really want to play with it, have Nox remain sunshiny and hopeful, and Amaris become like the dark and brooding one. You've got options that are more metaphorical and less just like shoved in your face and oops, all racism. In the same paragraph, Amaris has been called the Ivory Girl twice. Amaris is being specially trained to make sure that she fetches a good price when she's human trafficked, sold. And Nox is just like learning along with her because like they're besties. We have yet to see it really, but they're besties, just trust me. Once again, the only description we get of Nox is that her hair is glossy. Her hair must be like so frickin' shiny it can be seen from space. This is a very clunky sentence. Amaris made a face to express her displeasure. What face did she make? Give us the actual expression. She wrinkled her nose, she curled her lips, she rolled her eyes. Again, I don't think this author has the skill to pull off an omniscient narrator. Omniscient narrator done right is actually quite difficult. I'm not even sure that I could do it. This author is just head-hopping. I'm trying to think of books that have an omniscient narrator to give as examples. I know The Hobbit does. A lot of older books definitely went with the omniscient narrator style. That used to just be the thing. Now it's a lot more limited point of views, which I prefer anyway. Amaris calls herself a snowflake, which is weird. This author definitely struggles with tagging dialogue correctly. Not in like the necessarily like the words that she chooses, like said or otherwise, but in the fact that she doesn't tell us enough who is speaking. Even when you've got two characters going back and forth, if you break up that back and forth with a chunk of narrative, which she has done, or if you have a lengthy back and forth, you should remind the reader which character is talking. They can't be expected to keep track of order like that for much of a page. And this author is really bad at that. She just assumes that you just know who's talking at any given time. So we find out that only small children have hope of finding families and being raised, and everybody who's older is pretty much screwed to either be a laborer or a sex worker or like bought for marriage purposes. And it begs the question to me, why did the matron wait to put Amaris on the market, so to speak? Because one would think an awesome, super pale, cool-looking baby would be just as likely to entice people. There's a couple of twin girls that probably don't matter, and honestly, it sounds like they would be more interesting to follow than our two leads. I'm about to shout at this book like I don't care, get to the point, because it's just wandered off. It's so stream of consciousness, and I say this as a pantser, but like, there's a certain level of stream of consciousness writing which can be enjoyable, and this isn't it. This is just dumping every potential thought that comes into your brain onto the page and removing none of it. 2 paragraphs down, we're repeating information we already got in this chapter. It's just so unedited. The market day is almost over. Human beings have been bought and sold, and the girls are like, phew, we made it through another market day and neither of us got sold. Hopefully something is going to happen, because otherwise we just watch all of that for no reason. So yes, I was right. Something is about to happen. A black carriage pulls up, and it says, Knox couldn't explain the coal she felt in her stomach. What? Is that supposed to be a different word? Like maybe cold? Okay, no, it wasn't a mistake, because here it says the coal in her belly was spreading. What the fuck does that mean? Embers? You mean embers? Are the coals lit? Like, what does coal in the belly mean? Are they heavy like rocks? What are we dealing with here? Also, I think I want to mark another thing off on our bingo card. I would like to mark off, I would die for you, person I just met. This is basically supposed to be kind of like the love at first sight thing, where 2 people meet, spend 2 weeks together, and already they're ready to die for each other. But honestly, we're already there with these 2 girls. Knox met a baby and immediately decided that she was going to defend that baby at all costs, and that baby was like the best, most special baby. So we have I would die for you, person I just met. Uh-oh, the twins have been split up. The lady who came in the carriage snagged one of them, but not the other one. We find out the woman's name is Madame Millicent, so she's definitely going to be probably a bad person. You don't get named Millicent and then you're just like nice and kind. This writing is just... It's trying to do something that the author doesn't have the skill to do, similar to the Ables. In the Ables, the author was trying to have a very sort of conversational, quippy writing style, similar to what you find in like the Percy Jackson books. In this one, the author is attempting to have a very flowery, purple style, similar to what I think she imagines big fantasy books like this are supposed to have. And just like in the Ables, the author couldn't handle it. This author can't handle it either. Millicent, the rich lady, has just spotted Amaris and Knox, where they're hanging out on a balcony above everyone, of course, because they're better than everyone. Her lilac eyes were wide as teacups? Not saucers. Teacups. You know, some authors have a problem where a character will seem to, like, teleport almost. For example, they'll be doing stuff at the bottom of the stairs, and then the next moment they'll be described as at the top of the stairs with no mention of them actually ascending the stairs. Now, sometimes, depending on how it's done, it is implied that they ascended the stairs. This author has the opposite problem. She will tell you 3 times in 3 different ways, all of them flowery, that a character is doing any given thing. By the way, if you hear the sound of a tractor outside, that's because there's a tractor outside. We have fields all around us, and harvesting is happening. I'm curious because the matron seems keen that this woman is interested in Amaris, but the matron did not show this woman Amaris when she was showing her the other girls. So, like, why, if she's willing to sell Amaris off to this lady, did she not show her off when the lady was taking a tour of the mill? So this lady is like, cool, I really like this super, super pale girl. So they take her into a separate room so that Amaris can undress, because this wouldn't be a buying a child scene without the child having to get naked. And yes, she is still a child. So Amaris doesn't want to disrobe, obviously, and she looks at Knox and, like, pleads for help. And it says, it was the single worst moment in Knox's life. You were whipped. You were the only child, as far as we know, to be whipped in this whole school, and this is the worst moment of your life. Basically, this scene is going exactly how you expect it to. The lady makes her get naked, asks about her virginity, everything that you ever expect from this type of scene in any story. Suddenly, even though she does not recognize this woman at all, Knox is like, oh, she is from a pleasure house. Oh, never mind, this is Agnes. Man, the head hopping in this is so confusing. I keep losing track of whose thoughts we're in. Apparently, Amaris has silver tears as well. I don't know if that's being metaphorical or if her tears really are silver. At this point, nothing would surprise me. I can see that we're going to be handling sex workers just as delicately, because this lady is, like, super evil, and she's like, it doesn't really matter that this girl's a virgin because people will pay more for a 12-year-old girl's virginity. Like, is this book going to have any original thoughts? I think Amaris uses her powers again because she's like, no, I'm not going with you until I'm an adult. Although why doesn't she just say, no, I'm not going with you ever? Anyway, she's like, nope, not going with you until I'm grown. And then Millicent is like, cool, I respect your spirit. It describes her tears. Hot salt water trembled feebly down her cheeks. That's a collection of words, all right. Don't worry, little white girl. There is an older black girl here to comfort you and make you feel better. I think I'm ready also. Boy, we're filling out this bingo card super fast. Maybe I needed a bigger bingo card. I'm ready for weird metaphors / similes. Because just this whole thing. Knox is thinking about how, like, she doesn't value herself as a person, and no one does, of course not. Still, in her twisted upbringing in Farley, she had found a purpose. It had been planted as a tiny silver seed. It sprouted into a starlight connection with an ivory baby the other children hated with their jealousy. Amaris loved her back. Their moonlit plant grew like a metallic wildflower, with roots so deep they bore themselves into her very core. Yeah, that's going in weird metaphors and similes. Let's see if we can fill up the whole board, y'all. Let's see if we can fill up the whole board. I haven't given her Not Like Other Girls yet because, well, she is very, very pretty. I'm waiting to see her, like, compared with, like, other girls to find out how she is superior, aside from just, like, she's very, very pale. I am desperately looking ahead, like, how long is this chapter? Like, this is rough, y'all. Modern Word has found its way in here. It was a warm enough spring day that they didn't bother with night shoes or sweaters. Sweaters. Once again, this is probably the 5th, maybe 6th time that we're reminded that the children will not be punished in any way that leaves scars, but they will be, like, locked up in closets and stuff. Just in case we forgot somehow. The girls have sneaked out to behind the stable. Apparently there's a stable here for some reason. Not sure why. But there's a stable, and they sneaked out behind it to talk. It took them about 3 chunky paragraphs to do that because the author kept repeating herself. We've spent 2 paragraphs talking about how white Amaris is. The girls decide to go for a walk in the forest, and there's mention of monsters. This is the first time that, like, monsters have been mentioned. We also have a couple of hints that Nox is attracted to Amaris, who, again, is very young. Now, there's not a huge age gap between them. It's like 3 years. But still, she's like 12. So they go like a foot into the woods, hear a scary noise, and decide to go back to the manor. This was a pretty pointless scene. This could be a chapter, but it's not. It's just like a time jump. This would be a perfect spot for a new chapter. I don't know why it's not. The girls are planning their escape. They're asking pointed questions in geography class about the layout of the area, and they're stealing food. Oh, good. Now we're finding out the history of Sister Mabel. Thank goodness. The book couldn't go on without the history of Sister Mabel. Now we're learning a lot about the geography of the land, which I hope comes up later, because otherwise, again, why am I reading this? But apparently, Mabel spills the beans that Nox is going to be going to a place called Priory. And Nox is certain that she will be forced to sell her body. But finally, we have made it to chapter 4. Thank goodness. I'm not gonna lie, I'm skimming a little bit sometimes. I hope I'm not missing out important points because there's just so much repetition and so much info dumping. It's just like, I have no idea if any of this is gonna be important. Most of the time, with a skilled author, you know that if they include it in the book, it's probably gonna be important in at least some small way later. But in this one, no. I have no such faith. Yeah. Alright. I'll see you next chapter. Hi, hello, I'm back to make bad choices, but Giorgio is here to accompany me on this journey. Let's get back to it for another probably stupidly long chapter, which will take me over an hour to read. Yep, it's another 30-pager. By the way, the cat, I'm wearing very thin pants, and Giorgio is just driving her claws into my leg. Alright, honey, Mother has flesh that you are piercing. We are with Amaris, at least at the beginning of this chapter. This is, I think, the first chapter that has started with her point of view. We do hop into her head sometimes, but this seems to be more like fully in her point of view. So we have little Amaris, precious snowflake, getting her first period. And of course it's like the most painful thing ever, and she doesn't know what's going on because nobody's told her about periods, even though her bestie has had her period for a while now. But she's just like completely, am I dying? Like, what's happening? And of course the pain is being described as just like the worst, most terrible thing ever. And I know some women have worse period cramps than others. Mine have always been, you know, unpleasant but manageable. But I mean, Amaris is the special, so why would she have, you know, just sort of obnoxious period cramps? We hop back over to Nox, of course, and it says she was a creature of the night. Is Nox Batman?
I'm Batman.
I'm not sure if this is a typo or if we're calling Nox the Raven. It says, the Raven was through the door in a heartbeat, shushing the girls frantically. I feel like every part of this is insulting in ways that I don't even know about yet. So a couple of the younger girls see the blood and they're freaking the fuck out. Apparently, in this place that is full of teen and preteen girls, no one, not a single one, not even any of the older girls have explained periods to them. So I'm not sure whose head we're in at this point, Nox or Amaris, whoever it is, thinks that after tonight, the matrons will talk to all the younger girls about women's health. She calls it women's health, which is a very modern term, so we might have to put anachronistic language down here real quick. Why would this be the period that made the matrons go, oh yes, perhaps we should teach these girls about their own bodies? They're being so fucking dramatic about this too. This, like, apparently she's just bleeding all over the place, as if this gruesome event had never happened. Gruesome event. I'm going to refer to my next period as a gruesome event, just to be as melodramatic as this book. But also, once again, nobody knows how to use shined and shown. A little bit of like a confusion about timelines. I don't know exactly how long has passed. I thought it was longer, but apparently it had taken them months for their plan to take shape. Why? Why is it taking them months to figure out how they're going to escape? Other kids have been escaping. Doesn't seem that hard. They barely have anything. They've gathered like a couple of changes of clothes, some boys' clothes, but they're like, I need to find cloaks and a second blanket. Are these hard to source? Seriously. They're planning to leave in 2 days now. Their plan took months, but they're leaving in 2 days. They barely like prepared anything. But maybe it was just a lot of talking out the plan. Okay, we have a whole long thing talking about how they're gonna dye Amaris's hair because she's too noticeable, blah blah blah, talking about their plans, which direction they're gonna go, don't care. But now Nox is helping in the kitchen, and all of a sudden we have Nox had always possessed an aura of likability. Since when? This book has done nothing but tell us what a sneaky loner she is, just always on her own. The only person she likes is Amaris. But now all of a sudden she's always been likable? This book is just determined to tell me how to feel. The matron calls her Little Nox, and then we have to explain that Nox is not little, and this is obviously just an endearment that the woman has for her, and it's like, yep, that's obvious, please don't explain that. And then Nox says, I want to bring an apple to the horses, and it says, Mabel was charmed at that, as had been the intent. Yes, we know that was the intent. Your reader is not stupid. I should have put, thinks your reader is stupid on this as well. So we have an extended sequence where we watch Nox put all the food into a pillowcase, consider taking her blanket, decide not to take the blanket. Again, this author just really needed to go back through and edit out anything that was not necessary for the story. But then she goes to the balcony and, oh, there's a strange man visiting. Men never visit here, except when they do. So she says that the only people who ever come here are the bishops, people who want to buy and people who want to sell. The man doesn't seem to have a kid with him, so he's not here to sell. But then she says, and it didn't look as though he were here to purchase. How can you tell? How can you tell? Is he not like holding a bag of money out in front of him, going, I would like to buy a child? This writing is so fucking clunky. Nox blinked rapidly as she absorbed the alarming shift in events. Here's another one. She felt her breath catch, unsure what the sudden change might mean for her plans. We, the reader, understand that this could change her plans. Show us through her actions what she's doing about it, not telling us twice that events are changing. Apparently this guy is a video game character, though, which tracks because this is Witcher fanfic. The stranger was the size of a mountain and covered to the gills, more anachronistic language, with more weapons than even the heroes in stories. We have the word loud and loud in 2 sentences back to back. Okay, apparently it's nighttime? I thought it was still daytime, but I guess it's nighttime now. This book simultaneously has too many details and not enough details, and I don't know how that's possible. So even though Nox is like, I think, looking at him from like up above, outside, and he's outside, she can tell that he is injured and also that he has a fatherliness to his features belaying his years. What? How can she tell that his features are fatherly? What does that even mean? His face and neck were etched with the pink lines of battle. What? Do you mean he has scars? Just fucking say that. A few paragraphs ago, we referred to the man as feral, and now we're referring to Agnes as feral. Often it's a novice mistake, although not always. Some of us have been doing this for a long time. Our brains can latch onto a word and use it multiple times in very close proximity. Again, beta readers can help you catch this stuff. But the dude is like, hey, you have the sigil of the All-Mother, who I think is their god, and that means that you have to give, like, sanctuary, so I'm coming in, but also here's some money. I need to let some ferrets out. I'll be right back. It's Mr. Gall. He's sleepy, which is relatable. He's always sleepy. Aren't you? You sleepy boy? And now, back to this terrible book. So Nox says this is one of the only adult men she has ever seen, save for the bishop and the buyers. Does she not think about the guy who dropped Amaris off when she was a baby? So I'm seeing some similarities here. Random dude coming in the night. Also, this guy is totally not a witcher. Not at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Also, Nox is like astounded by the sight of the guy's blood, even though Earlier this chapter, Amaris was like bleeding more than anybody has ever bled on their period. Oh my goodness. Some of these sentences. Oh man. It says, Knox pricked with the idea as her eyes floated over her shoulder and down the hall. I think you mean her gaze, and even then, this is an iffy sentence. Like, I'm picturing her eyeballs just pop out of her head and like float over her shoulder and down the hall. Is this a power that she has? For some reason, Knox is like, I'm not just gonna use this guy as a distraction. I maybe want to steal some of his weapons and his money. Like, girl, no. I know you're supposed to be like this super thief. You are the knight. But like, also, no. Here's another delightfully awkward sentence. This particular chapter is just full of these sentences where you're like,
I don't think it means what you think it means.
They both turned their heads from their respective places in the dorm. They hear some of the matrons whispering, this guy needs to be guarded at all times, because apparently he's an assassin, which I believe translates roughly to Witcher. Their eyes touched, dissolving into a long, sad look. Their eyes touched. Now, I'm not one of those picky people who hates whenever you say their eyes did something when you mean their gaze. But there are certain turns of phrase that it works for, and certain ones that it definitely does not work for, and ones like their eyes touched is not one that it works for. Their eyes met? Yes. Their eyes touched? No. Creepy. What are they doing with their eyeballs? Okay, now we've got a just out of the blue love confession. The girls are sitting together, eyeballs touching, very romantic, and all of a sudden, Knox is like, oh yeah, I'm really into this girl. And except for in these two moments of like random lust, I get absolutely no romantic chemistry between these two girls whatsoever. It definitely feels like a big sister, little sister type relationship, and now Knox is just straight up coming with an I love you. Unfortunately for Knox, Amaris interprets it in a sisterly way, and Knox is like, you know what? I'm not gonna explain that I'm actually hot for her. We have a whole paragraph about it, though, with the most awkwardly put together sentences ever, where Knox is just feeling very sad. All these words so far in this book, and this is the first time that we're hearing that Knox wanted to speak her heart for so long, but had never known how. We spend so much pointless time explaining and re-explaining things when we could be getting to know these characters. We're already on page 86. There's so many words, and it still feels like there's absolutely no chemistry between these girls. Knox has decided that this is actually the worst night to make a run for it. I disagree, but okay. And so even though they have gathered everything up, they're completely ready to go. They've touched eyeballs, as is their custom, I guess. They can't leave tonight. They're going tomorrow instead. So they're going to risk having all of their supplies found. Unless they're like leaving tomorrow morning. They're risking having all of their supplies found, totally being caught, by just not going tonight. Amaris is woken up by one of the matrons super early with a cup of tea, and the matron is like, it's your big day. Girls, you should have left last night. The madam is here. She made like super good time, and she's here to collect Amaris. But apparently Amaris just like leaves the matron who brought her the tea and just goes into Knox's room. The girls meet up, and they're sneaking out. I don't know what happened to the sister who came and gave her the tea, but I guess she, I don't know, fucked off. But they stopped just in front of Agnes's office. Luckily, of course, Knox knows how to pick locks, because why wouldn't she? She's like a master thief. She's picking the lock to Agnes's office. Stupid plan, terrible plan, worst plan ever, but whatever.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
She wants to get a weapon, or weapons, from the matron's office. I'm kind of surprised that Agnes has not already stolen his money, just kind of given what we know about her and how unscrupulous she is. They're sneaking out this morning kind of out of necessity, but like, how is this better than sneaking out last night? But also, the person that they've run into, not any of the matrons, it's the dude who was being guarded. So what's he doing? Amaris finally decides to do possibly the very first proactive thing she's ever done. She shoves all of her supplies into Knox's arms and is like, go, I'll distract this guy. I mean, they're saying this right in front of him, so like, still shitty plan. For some reason, the guy is like, cool, he lets Knox go, but he doesn't let Amaris go, or she doesn't try to go, and she just like walks back up the stairs with him. I'm so confused, because it says that he clearly doesn't care what they're up to, but then also Amaris still has to stay with him. Very confusing. All of a sudden, also, Mabel is here. The one who gave her the tea and fucked off somewhere is now back. So Mabel is like, you better get to the dining room, Amaris, and the guy just doesn't care, so he just keeps going the direction that he was going. So Amaris definitely could have just left with Nox. I don't understand why she stayed. Lan, you want to say hi to the people? Hi, people. I'm Lan. I'm a good boy, except for when I bite Mommy. Yeah? Yeah? What you doing, Lan? How's it going? How's your day? Do not bite me. I already have enough troubles reading this book without being bitten by. Do not bite me on the boobie. Yes, he's a very good boy until he's bitey. Down you go, Lan. Go play with your friends. This chapter's so friggin' long. Why? It just keeps going. Now, poor Amaris is being forced to deal with Lady Millicent. This is about Millicent. Her voice was bright, like the ringing of a silver bell. It was too pleasant, too musical for such a dark woman. What does that mean? She emo? Or does she have dark skin? What? Apparently she's emo. So she has blonde hair, but she has black lipstick. So... Oh, Abby. No. You're not supposed to have that. No. That's not for you. Once again, we have to stroke the main character's ego. Short of being mauled by a beast, you're still the most marvelous diamond I've seen in ages. You'd be amazed what men will pay to possess something unique, if only for a moment. Of course, this woman is going to sell off Amaris' virginity because Amaris is so beautiful and special and wonderful. They're all interrupted as the dude, the not a witcher, comes back downstairs and he's like leaving, and it says sauntered out after his horse, and I didn't know he had a horse, but the horse wasn't mentioned prior to now. And now we need a trigger warning for self-harm, because in all of this chaos, random guy, madam coming to collect her, all of this, she's the most beautiful creature in the whole wide world. Amaris is like, my only option is to horribly scar myself, and so she grabs the dagger she was given and slices down her face, giving herself a cool eye scar, not, again, unlike a certain character in a certain popular series.
I'd so like to be ordinary.
She's just like, she runs out into the courtyard and she's just slicing her chest now. And then she runs up to the guy and she's like, take me with you. Like, what on earth made her go from, I'll make myself so I'm not beautiful anymore, to also, please take me with you, strange man.
People linked by destiny will always find each other.
We head hop to the man here for a second. Don't mind the squeaking. That is Moraine. She's very dramatic. She's fine. She's just very dramatic. So this guy doesn't just like grab her and throw her on his horse. He's like, nope, I'm going to buy her. I'm going to buy this human. I don't know why he thinks he needs to do that, but I guess he has to be fair. He has to be like, oh, there was a down payment placed on this human being. I will have to reimburse the people who were going to enslave her. So she gets on the horse with the guy, and they ride out of the courtyard, and I guess she spares a brief thought for Nox, like, I hope Nox got away. Hey guys, where's my bookmark? Did you steal it?
Ohana means family. Family means nobody
gets left behind.
or forgotten.
Amanda, Unicorn Jenny, Celia, SV, Taya, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, My96, Afra, Melissa, AC, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah. Fun fact, y'all, I used to be able to write down all of your names on a note card to read them off, but now you take up an entire notebook page. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate you.
Sometimes I wish I could be like them.
Me too. Being a witch is a burden sometimes.
As is my inheritance. I'd so like to be ordinary. Because of this damned elder blood. My gift. My curse.